Welcome to the Veteran Cancer Talk by the Veteran Cancer Network. I'm your host, Ashton, and today I'm joined by Liz Blackmon, Army veteran, breast cancer survivor, retired DOJ law enforcement officer, veteran advocate, and worldwide realtor. Liz, oh my goodness, that is a mouthful to sit there and say. First of all, I commend you for everything that you're doing, but welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you so much for all you're doing for us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I'm happy to sit there and start advocating for veterans that have, cancer and just trying to make things happen. So, Liz, go ahead and tell me just a little bit briefly about your military history. First of all, why the Army?
I went to college for 2 years. I got my associate's degree and I ran out of money. I went to the different recruiters and discussed with them, and the Army worked best for me.
Okay. Now, when did you enlist?
1988.
Okay, so it's been a couple days.
Time. Yes.
Now, what did you do in the Army?
Oh, actually, 86.
Oh, 86. Okay.
I was married in 88.
Now, what did you do for the Army?
So I was a communications specialist, tactical communications specialist. I worked in the motor pool, and back then we had the old vehicles. We had the actual wires for the radios and things like that. So I guess you'd call them used to say like a wire rat.
Okay. Now, how long did you serve for?
So I did 2 active and then reserves for the 6, so 8.
Okay, wonderful. Now, where all were you stationed at?
So I did my basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey, AIT at Fort Sill, and the rest of the time was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Fantastic. No, well, thank you for your service. Now, I know that you said that when we were talking offline, that you married, got out, and was a caregiver as well or not a caregiver, but a support person for your spouse, correct?
Yes. So my husband did 28 years. So we met in the military at Fort Leonard Wood, and we're married there. So I say I got my college and my husband from the military.
I love that. Now, where all was he stationed at? Because obviously you were traveling with him, correct?
So actually, he got out not long after we went after we were married.
Okay.
After we were married, we went to Fort Leavenworth, and he worked there for several years, and then he got out too.
Okay. So you got out of the military. Tell me just a little bit about your experience, because you worked for the Department of Justice as a Leo, correct?
Yes. So after we got out of the military, I was following him at Fort Leavenworth, and he worked at the disciplinary barracks, and I worked for several government agencies there after I got out, trying to figure out my niche. And I worked at the state corrections, and then I went to federal corrections at the Federal Bureau of Prisons there at Leavenworth, and we traveled several times with them. I started as a correctional officer, and back then there wasn't female correctional officers in the penitentiaries, so that was a different change for them to have us there. But I worked at Leavenworth, Tallahassee, Lompoc, California, McKean, Pennsylvania, which is right outside Buffalo, New York, Seattle. SeaTac is a detention center, which is really neat. You could see it from the airport if you ever fly into Seattle. And then my last 10 years were with the central office headquarters in Washington, D.C. And at that point, I was working labor relations. I worked affirmative action and then labor relations, where I would represent the agency in front of third parties like MSPB, EEOC, and a lot of arbitrations with the union. After I finished the 20 years of law enforcement, I went back to DOD. I worked DOD for several years, and then I ended up with Department of Transportation with the FAA. So that was the government. During that time, I also had a really good girlfriend, close friend, that had started a real estate company and asked me to join her, which I did. I was dual career for 10 years, almost 10 years, doing that as well. And that was really neat because I love helping people. And when I worked human resources and training with the Bureau of Prisons, I would help people with all of their moves, things like that. But then as a realtor, you get paid for it, which is really cool.
Wow, that is fascinating. What a fun, lived experience. Now, at what point in your career after the military and everything did you start realizing something was going on and prompted you to get checked for breast cancer?
So I had three aunts that were diagnosed. One was several years before, but then I have two aunts that were closer to my age that were diagnosed. And so I had asked to have a mammogram. My primary care, I asked to have a mammogram. And it was so weird because she was like, well, I don't think we need one yet. It's not your time, whatever. Um, but I had the mammogram, and I never had any symptoms. And actually, the surgeon, you could never even feel the lump because it was so close to my chest wall. So, had I not had the mammogram, yeah, who knows? And they were so wonderful. It was at Fort Belvoir Radiology, and the radiology tech was so amazing. She was like, I just have to do a few yoga poses, to be able to see it. But they were able to see it. They got in, did the um, ultrasound and the biopsy the same day.
Oh, now I mean I find that really interesting. So you went to an active duty military base and had to advocate for the test based on your hereditary. So how did that I guess how did that impact you at that time? Because that was stage one, correct? Or were you
Yes.
further along? Okay.
Yeah, I was stage one, grade two. And
And
it
for those that
was,
don't know what that means,
so
what
it's
exactly does that mean?
interesting. There's so much that we don't know until you have to be faced with it. This stage one is the size, and then the grade is the aggressiveness. So it goes stage one, two, three, four, grade one, two, three. So it's the three grades. But I was grade two. But
Okay.
they were they got it all. I had a bilateral mastectomy because of the family history, and I just didn't want to deal with it again. I elected for the bilateral mastectomy, and I actually had all my treatment. Although I was at Fort Leavenworth at their radiology, it was through the VA BOC there, the clinic there at Fort Belvoir, and then I went over to the radiology right there at Fort Belvoir. But I had all of my treatment at the Washington, D.C. VA, and the surgeons, everybody was so wonderful.
That's wonderful to hear. Now, after your bilateral mastectomy, how long was that recovery?
Actually, I'm bad because I don't sit still. As the realtor, I would say because I could schedule my own hours and everything, so I didn't have to go out of the house. I didn't go out of the house and actually start showing homes for probably a month, but I was still working within the first week.
Oh my goodness. That typical veteran for you right there. Okay, so after you obviously back at work and everything, was there a treatment regimen that you had to do? I know some people have to go through either radiation or chemotherapy. What was that like for you?
So I did not. I was very blessed because of the type of cancer that I had, and the because it was smaller, I did not have to do chemo or radiation. One other thing I did not realize, of course, until going through it, had I not had a mastectomy, I would have had to go through radiation. But I elected for the mastectomy. So, but I did have the anastrozole, which is because mine was it estrogen based, was a high estrogen ERPR, estrogen progesterone based. I did take the anastrozole, which is a pill that suppresses the estrogen, for 6 years afterwards. And it's so weird because it's not a cancer pill, but a lot of people say it is a cancer, a chemo pill, but it's not. But it is really hard on you because you don't realize how your estrogen is so important. Like I would have a hard time getting out of bed. Your joints would hurt so bad, and that was the biggest thing, the joint pain, and things like that. I felt like a 90-year-old, where I had just turned 51.
Goodness. Now, had you done any like gene testing or anything? I mean, have you done anything like that since?
Yes, so I did have genetic testing through the VA and was told that it was not genetic, even though I did have a family history that it was not genetic. I don't know. I was not deployed, but I did work in the motor pool along the petroleum and things like that. So we just don't know, or it could just be a gene that they don't know about yet. But had I not had the mammogram, it would be a different story.
No, absolutely. Now, obviously, the PACT Act, they, obviously put, certain cancers and, into a service-related injury. Is that the same for you with everything?
They did put that it was Tira, that was the substances, but they have not said that it was related. They have not said that at all. I had asked
Interesting.
a few times, and because there's a lot of statistics of those in the military, the higher rates of cancers is specifically, there's been a lot of testing on breast cancer, but they never would admit that with mine.
Goodness. Now, kind of looking forward, through your health journey and everything. What I guess is silver lining and all of the looking back and everything. What were some of the positive things that kind of came from this experience?
So the biggest thing, and I'm sure you've heard this from other people, is you appreciate every day, and maybe not take things so seriously. Try to slow down, which is really hard for us, as you say, us military, that it's hard to do that. And advocate for yourself. With that, again, I've now said several times, had I not had the mammogram, but had I not insisted on having the mammogram. And then additionally, after that, I had requested a pap smear, which you shouldn't have to request it. That should be that you get that. And the primary care didn't really want to do that right away either, which I'm not sure why, and I can't remember. And but when they did that, they had seen without TMI, that there were issues, and I had to have a hysterectomy, which nothing was cancerous, but that helped prevent that. So, but the other, again, for advocating yourself and testing, it's so important. I had, when I was of age, the colonoscopy. In my colonoscopy, I had a precancerous, aggressive precancerous polyp. But the good thing is, when you get a colonoscopy, they can take care of it right there. So but you have to get that colonoscopy.
Yeah, nope. Unfortunately, I had to do that whenever I was going through some, unexpected weight loss. That's not a fun experience to be able to go through,
Right.
but it's necessary. It's definitely necessary. Now, I do find it interesting throughout, your entire experience with the VA. I mean, you speak so highly of it, which I love that. But you had to advocate for almost every single test, that you would think, if you're in the military, that you would be able to sit there and just be able to ask for it and be able to receive it. That has to be frustrating.
Yes, and I think I think it was that primary care physician. I don't. The other everybody else has been wonderful. I've had since then also. I've had several thyroid issues and thyroid nodules that they've had to biopsy and things like that too. And like the endocrinologist was always on top of it. Again, all the surgeons, it's crazy. Since then, I guess you pay more attention to your body, but since then I've got like more specialist than my grandmother. It's like, but they've all been very wonderful, and I just think it was a one-off with that person, and and for her, I always have looked healthy, even when after my mastectomy, I had a lot of issues. Had necrosis. I got sepsis twice. And
Oh my
even
goodness.
when I went into ER with sepsis, they didn't think there was anything wrong with me because I had never looked ill. And so I'm always look really healthy and everything. So that could have been too. I'm not sure.
Wow. I mean, watching my husband go through sepsis, obviously he, was in the thralls of the chemo regimen at that time. And it's devastating. Goodness, I'm so happy that you're here and able to continue with your advocacy work, which I do want to be able to get into. So tell me, what have you been up to since, basically post-military, post-Leo? You've done a lot of advocacy work with a lot of different organizations, actually.
Yes, one of the ones that I found out about when I was still with the government and real estate, so very, very busy, is Final Salute. And Final Salute is for homeless female veterans, is basically, but they have a house in Alexandria. And I had actually seen the founder is also a cancer survivor, and she had posted, and I don't know if it was Facebook or somewhere, but I had seen her. They had a home that they had for female veterans, and they had been renting for years and years and years. And it was during the time when a lot of landlords were not paying their mortgages, and then renters were kicked out, and that's what was getting ready to happen. So she had asked for support and help and was able to raise the money to purchase that home for the female veterans in Alexandria, Virginia. It's right by a train station, and they've helped so many people. But not just that, also they assist with if you need help. One of the most touching and, of course, emotional at the time was I went with her down to Miami. The United Way had donated funds to Final Salute to provide financial training for female veterans. So they had classes during the day, and each of the veterans were able to write down their utility bills and their rent information. And so we reviewed them all to confirm everything. And then at the end of the training, the Final Salute paid those for them. And it was
Oh,
so
that's
touching.
fantastic.
I think it was approximately $45,000 that was given to female veterans. And that was right before Christmas. So it was amazing.
Oh, I bet.
And then as soon as the last veteran left, that's when I was told that I got a phone call right after the last person was leaving. I received a phone call, and it was the VA confirming that the biopsy actually showed that I had breast cancer.
It had to have been surreal, though. I mean, here you are celebrating with all these other women veterans, and you had mentioned that one of them was a cancer survivor as well. Did you tell anybody while you were there? Did you
I
let your
did.
family know?
I did. The founder, Jazz Booth is her name, and it was wonderful having her there because she had been through it, and she was like, "We've got this." I did not tell my family until I flew home that night, and then on the way home from the airport is when I told them.
My goodness. Now they had known that you had gone for the biopsy, previously, or did they?
I'm
Did you
trying
did
to
you let them
remember.
know?
I'm trying to remember if my daughter did because I didn't want to worry her. Had I did the mammogram. So yeah, I had the initial mammogram, and then they called me back, and that second mammogram, I was like, oh, it's going to be just fine. My husband actually was driving a friend from Virginia down to Florida, helping her move.
I bet. I will say caregivers, I mean, being one and everything, it's definitely, I mean, it's hard, being the caregiver, because I can't tell you how many times that I was like, man, I just wish it was happening to me so I don't have to sit there and really think too much of it, because like I said, my husband was stoic. He was great going through all of it. I mean, kind of like your story. I mean, he was kind of like nonchalant some of the times. And I'm like, are you sure? Like you're like, you understand what's going on, right? But it's goodness. What a story. All right. Well, Liz, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Veteran Cancer Talk. We appreciate your time. For those that are interested in getting a hold of Liz, all of her contact information is going to be in the links below. If you're looking at finding a home, make sure you reach out to Liz. She is a certified VA home loan specialist. So thank you, Liz, for joining us. Take care.